Ciao, hi, hey, hola amigos. It's your boy M.K.S here, back in another video. I'm just going to check I'm live on Facebook. And I'm live on Facebook. I'm live on Facebook and YouTube. Hope you enjoy it. And welcome to the third and penultimate part of 2 days later than planned. A.D.H.D Tuesdays. Hope you like it. And I'd love to know from people out there, do you think my videos make a genuine difference to make people think and whatnot? Sometimes I do worry, like, is it resonate? Are they resonate with people? Do they make a difference? Am I just like going through the motions or whatever? But I'd love to know from people out there. And I suppose, I welcome people to comment in the comments either on Facebook and YouTube as usual, but I usually do. But the idea is to sort of share information, like what do you think are some ADHD talents, and what do you think could be done to help ADHDers to reach their full potential, avoid getting in trouble with law and things like that. Now, I failed in part 2, as usual, to get to the point as quick as I like, and the intro went on longer than planned, just like it is now, and the video generally went on 4 or 5 minutes at least longer than planned. Apologies for that, but low on time anyway, but as well for myself, so I have to apologise to myself as well. But yeah, I'm going to try to do it in 10 minutes or less. So these are pointers number 21 to 30. So here goes. So number 21. I do want to try to not talk too much about myself and talk more about like ADHDers generally, my ideas to empower them. But I did say in part 2 that I would talk about, I think in point number 15 I said I was going to talk about it. I thought I'd talk about it in point number 21 because one video was going a bit too long. And I thought, as this thing goes, 21 again. So if I could do my time again, if I could redo my day, I would have woke up ASAP. I'd love to have more energy. But that goes for any day. And I would have started to. I put a lamp on it. My mum told me it's too bright today. I should sit close to the window or whatever. But I feel comfortable in this seat. But yeah, I hope it's bright enough. Sorry. I normally, whenever I go on a laptop, I always think like I'm not very good at science, but I think like I'm sure like when people read or whatever, they're supposed to have a bit of a light on, even if it's bright or maybe not. I don't know. What do you think? I love to know if you have any tips on whatever. As ever, please do share. But yeah, sorry. If I could have woke up earlier as usual, I'd love to sleep as little as possible, but I wanted to get through this like lined paper, refill paper, loose paper, whatever you want to call it, and wrote the first thoughts that come to my mind, and then I'd love to have wrote like I keep wanting to do this, but I never seem to get around to it, and hopefully in May I will. See, this is the last of this month as well. But to write up, yeah, the first thoughts that come to mind are things like if I could make a deal with God, what would I ask for? And I suppose I could say what would I give away as well. It's another thing I should, or what would I give? Well, it's all I have to give. But going back to ADHD as yeah, I'd love to have more energy and wake up and be organised, as I say. But I'd love to know what they've achieved in history, people with ADHD. Like some people say, I mean, it's hard to prove or disprove that they have ADHD, but people like Leonardo da Vinci, because he took on so many projects and things like that, which is why I think I might have ADHD, but just lack the energy side of it. I seem to have the deficit side of it, but not the energy. But again, I want to take a test as I talk about, and I hope to find a way to do that, and hopefully do some tests for like autism, ADHD, and things like that on these videos. Like if I did one for dyslexia, I would, I think it would say a probability of me having dyslexia would be very low because I learned how to spell because I had extra help in doing so. But yeah, I'd love to know what ADHD have achieved. Again, I mean, I suppose it would be hard to look at because historically it wasn't so well known. Even now, a lot of people have misconceptions of ADHD. I'd love to know from ADHDers out there, what do you think those misconceptions are that people still have? People might say, oh, they're just naughty or they're just making excuses or whatever it is, for instance, or whatever it might be that people's experiences are. But yeah, there may have been people in history that have achieved a great deal that have ADHD. Like Bill Gates said, he would probably be diagnosed with autism and ADHD even today. ADHD and autism even today, or whatever, or vice versa. So he probably has all the ADHD, but and whatever you think of him, he has changed the world, better or worse, or whatever. And there's so many other people like celebrities and all that kind of thing. It'd be interesting to find out the historical thing, because moving on to point number 22, with momentum, it'd be great to see what ADHDers can achieve in the future. And I hope it's going to be a very bright future for people with conditions like ADHD. I could be wrong. I do sometimes, as a pessimist, I do have my doubts, but I do think that, say, if you look at there being more awareness, with more awareness, hopefully, more people will see. For instance, if they see someone who's restless and can't sit still at school, or someone who just doesn't fit into a regular workplace, or someone who just has a lot of restless energy or whatever, then it could be ADHD, and therefore also look at what they are good at, rather than just like with dyslexia or autism and other conditions. It's like what they are good at, not so much what they're not so good at, which is what I'm trying to talk about in these videos, and empowerment in terms of saying what ADHDers can do to achieve their goals and reach their full potential, hopefully, and hopefully by networking together and sharing tips and ideas and that kind of thing can work as hard as necessary and as smart as possible, and have as much fun as possible, trying to change the world for the better for themselves, each other, and others as well, animals and people, ideally. And on that note, moving on to point number 23, I'd love for ADHDers to be into philanthropy. I know I talked about how I would love for there to be like an ADHD millionaires or even billionaires or even trillionaires network, and networks for like ADHDers with a high net worth, financial net worth, or whatever, high achievers and whatnot, or even just generally. But I love for there to be specific networks, like could be even some for like those with 6 figures and above, or whatever, and like investing together. But at some point in the future, I'd love for ADHDers to, along with other atypical people, neurodivergent people, to be philanthropists and to make the world better for themselves, each other, and also others as well, and like for animals, nature, children, young people, people with physical and mental disabilities, and others generally. I'd love to see what ADHDers can contribute to the world in a positive way. Like for me, I have like 5 causes, for instance, that I like to focus on, so they give me something to give me a purpose. Unfortunately, I have given up a few times in life, and like, not, again, I don't want to talk too much about myself, but I think without that purpose, it would be really difficult to just even get out of bed at all, or have any meaning to do anything, and that kind of thing, or any sort of push or motivation to do anything. But so I'm just looking at my cat over there. But yeah, I say I'd love to see how ADHDers can be motivated to push themselves. My cat is such a pain, and to reach their full potential and that kind of thing. And I love him, but he's a pain, my cat. But yeah, I talked about those networks, as I say, but hopefully they could, for instance, invest in other ADHDers and whatnot. So I'd love to see what ADHDers can do for charity. Also, I say for philanthropy, charity, whatever you want to call it, helping others basically, that kind of thing, and fundraising. Also to fundraise ADHDers from lower socioeconomic conditions, or for one of a better way of putting it. And I talked about like investing together. So I'd love to see a network of atypical people, including ADHDers and autistics, to see if they can invest together, and with like Virgin Money and Schwab Corp perhaps working together, they could invest on behalf of ADHDers and even teach them how to invest. And for atypical people, including ADHDers, as and autistics, I'd love for them to have enough money and again, I know I talked about this before, but to be able to have money coming in whether they work or not. So for those who worry, I just realised I've gone past the 10-minute mark. For those who worry about not being able to get jobs or keep jobs or whatever, they would have that safety net. But I'm talking about that a few times, and I'll probably talk about it in the future. But I'm going to move on. Well, they have just seen that. Number 24. I'd love for there to be global networks that support people with ADHD and look at ways maybe they could be helped to organise their time and organise each day to make the most of each day. I wish I could make the most of each day. I do struggle with that. I'd love to be able, as I say, I'd love to be able to sleep less, wake up earlier, not need so much sleep, have much more energy. I think my mental health problems and like being quite negative does make it difficult. Maybe one day I could try just to see if positivity works, to just it might be able to help me to get up earlier, but I'd love to be able to make the best use of my time and make the best use of each day. I think time is more important than money in many ways. Probably depends on the amount, but I think often time is more important than money. But I'd love to know what other people think. I love for ADHD entrepreneurs, and people from a range of fields to find these videos and get involved in the comments and say, this is how I run a business, this is how I manage my time. I mean, there are videos out there on that kind of thing. In the future, another thing is I'd love to, that's one point I meant to mention earlier, maybe in point number 11 is I'd love to network, to talk to people with ADHD on Zoom, and I record it onto YouTube and Facebook and whatnot, video sharing platforms, to generally speaking, to talk about what are the best ways to help ADHDers, including to manage time. And talk of which, number 25, I'd love for African and Asian nations to host more events to find out the positive sides of ADHD, because as I say, I do think that ADHDers do have a lot to contribute, but I think schools, parents, teachers and society and that kind of thing put a lot of ADHDers down and don't realise their strengths. And I think the fact that those strengths are unique makes them even better, because if you have the same strength as everyone else, supply and demand means it's not worth as much. I often think that schools, my conspiracy theory is that I've heard a few people say, to be fair, it's not good of me who says it. In fact, I probably got it off them, but they say like schools are designed to keep you to work like a factory or whatever, to keep loyal workers and that kind of thing. They don't want you to learn about business, investing, standing on your own 2 feet and that kind of thing. They want you to rely on an employer. But the people who actually work in schools, like the teachers and that kind of thing, probably don't really realise that. They think these things like curriculum are really important, and the national or even international curriculum. But I feel that time, as I say, because it's one even longer than the last one. I got voice instead of that. But yeah, I think the fact that those skills are unique. If you understand supply and demand, a skill that's unique and a talent that's unique, or whatever skill or talent or whatever it might be, an ability basically that's unique. As I'd love to find out about skills, abilities, generally, and talents included from ADHDs as well as autistics and others. But yeah, a unique ability is going to be worth more, especially if it's important in the first place. A rare gem is going to be worth more than a common gem. If you have so many of something, it's not worth as much as something that's unique. So I think it's strange that society mocks that's different. I guess it's how to react to what's different, but actually it's not worth as much. If you tell someone to be normal, like my brother says, why don't you act like a normal person or whatever, fair enough. But I think that, and many people say that, oh, you're weird or you should act normal or whatever, but it's actually telling people to be average. Which is not a bad or a good thing, I wouldn't say necessarily, but ADHDs, I think, have so much to contribute. They just need to have that ability unlocked, and they could really help. I'm sure they could help African and Asian nations to develop their economies from a selfish point of view. I'm not going to benefit the town for. Normally, I say that in opposite order, but moving on to 26, I'd say I love to support former colonies and those with ADHD, including those countries. I put on the playlist reparations and that kind of thing. Reparations and so forth, and I guess I'd love to see what ADHDs perhaps could do to help with anti-imperialism and come with ideas. Perhaps those who are interested, or I suppose they'll be on different political side of the spectrum, as well as atypical people generally, I'm sure, will think differently politically. But me personally, I love to see what ADHDs could come up with in terms of ideas for like reparations or whatnot. At least some of them, I guess. Maybe many of them. Number 27, maybe there could be lists of those who contribute to ADHDs, like which investors, businesses, banks, and whatnot invest into and generally support ADHDs the most. And number 28, as I say, I hope to turn some of the negative stereotypes around and show what talents and general skills and abilities ADHDs have. Number 29, also supporting those with colour, of colour with ADHD, sorry. And number 30, normally finish on. Should be careful what I say, I know, but ADHD is to get some A's, to get some ass, tushy, to get some ass, totty, tushy, and titties. But anyway, on that note, on that bombshell, I'm out, and peace and love.